Hey everybody, welcome to the garden. I hope you're having a great day. Shout out to the lemon and lime lovers and everybody in between. It's time for the crypto market recap. Let's hop into these charts, see what the story is and what it may be. And remember, if you're interested in any of the services I provide, please check the links in the description below for both the Patreon and Discord. Okay, so before we hop into the charts, I just want to go over the news that came out today quickly. So the U.S. news that came out today that was fairly important was the U.S. new home sales numbers and also the consumer confidence data. Actually, both came in pretty bullish. They both beat expectations. And off that news, the market sold off. The reason why is, though the numbers are bullish and they're positive in a vacuum, in context, they aren't a great sign because a lot of this data is coming from July. And in July, the CPI report was actually surprisingly very bullish. And then August's CPI report was surprisingly extremely bearish. So what's happening is you're seeing the markets price in this lagging data is likely going to become very negative the next time this data comes out. So next month when we get this data again, we're expecting to see much more bearish results. So it's just the market pricing it in, front running it, and it's most likely going to happen. The U.S. home sales, if anyone's paying to the real estate market, they know it's in a melt up phase. It's very, very nerve-wracking. It's showing a lot of signs of a massive slowdown is fast approaching. So these numbers here, though they beat very well, they also give an indication of possibly like a blow-off top in the market. So that's another reason why fear start entering the market once these positive numbers were reported. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the Dixie, the dollar, and then we'll take a quick look at the Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ, and then we'll go into crypto. Okay, I'm going to try and make this a short video. So the Dixie is, again, continuing the move higher. It was actually consolidating earlier today, so both crypto and the stock market we're seeing a nice powerful green day, but finally the dollar decided to make the next move up. Potentially we'll see if it can actually break past this high pivot here, which it's likely to, and finally make its way to 114.88 and then 115, this zone here. It should find some resistance there and maybe even lead to a pretty decent retracement, which, like I mentioned in the last recap video, which would lead to a nice sizable bounce in almost all the markets. And that would be very nice if you're tired of all the selling. But in the end, it's likely going to be a bullish retracement of some sort, or at the very least, a bullish consolidation. We saw that here in the short term on the dollar. So if you take a quick look, you can see bullish consolidation here, and actually started to break up higher from this consolidation. So dollar finally broke up, and then the markets fell off the rise, right? So we'll see if it can confirm and hold through, or if it's actually going to fail and come right back down. Because if it does come back down, breaking back into this structure, it's very likely it's going to lose all of this and will come all the way back down towards 111 to 112. And that's a great sign short term if you want the markets to pop, okay? But as of right now, the probabilities are still to the upside towards at least the 114.88 to the 115 zone. All right, so let's take a quick look at the Dow next, see what that's looking like. So on the daily, again, continuing selling. We have about an hour and a half before the stock market closes, and just making new lows on the year. We are approaching some support. We have minor support at 28,500, and then we have a pretty decent zone of support between 28,000 to 27,800. So I do expect that zone to be pretty respected. Okay, I do, like, if you've been following my videos, been following my information, I'm far more bearish longer term. So I do not believe that's the bottom per se, but I do see that as being a level to look for a pretty nice reversal to get all the way back to potentially even 29,000 to maybe even almost 30,000. Okay, that would not be out of the ordinary. All right, so let's take a quick look at the S&P. So S&P, again, also having a sell-off day, but unlike the Dow, has yet to actually take out the 2022 lows via a closure. We finally wicked under today, so this is the first day we wicked under the previous 2022 lows, and now we're going to be looking for a closure under those lows, and that will likely lead to another sell-off going towards this daily pivot at 35.88 and potentially lower at 35.5. Okay, 35.50. So over here, once we get towards this zone here, we will likely see a slowdown in the selling. We may get a wick down towards this fair value channel, getting close towards the COVID high pivot level here at 3394.4, but it's very unlikely we break right through it. It's more likely we'll have a bounce from there and potentially a bearish consolidation to get through it. Okay, so that has not changed. That's what I'm still seeing happening here, and we're just hitting that first level, that first step of making new lows on the year. And NASDAQ, let's take a look at them. So NASDAQ as well is approaching the 2022 lows, but has not even wicked under there. NASDAQ has a lot more work to do getting down. It's been far more inflated. So, it does have some more downside. It's approaching the level. It's getting very close. But, it's at decent support. NASDAQ may potentially not take out the lows and may double tap down here and then rise if the S&P catches a bid as it gets towards 35.50. But in my opinion, eventually, it's most likely you're going to see the NASDAQ pierce under these levels and then bounce back towards the levels, okay? So, pretty much the same info as I said in my last recap. Nothing has particularly changed. You are likely going to see these indices eat away at most of the gains they've made in 2020 going forward. All right, let's take a quick look at crypto. So crypto, here we are. So here is Bitcoin. We'll be looking at Bitcoin, Polkadot, Cardano, Avalanche, Solana, and BNB. And we'll also look at MATIC, which I am short. So crypto was having a great day. I think Bitcoin was up almost like 6%. It was well over 5% at one point, and then the dollar just started breaking from that bullish consolidation, and boom, it plummeted right off of the resistance zone here. Could not have any follow through. So, and this is what I've been worried about, right? So in the last recap video, I was saying how a lot of these structures in a vacuum look decently bullish. Okay, there's a lot of bullish activity, potential bottoming structures, but there needs to be follow through, and that's what's been really just waning here, right? There's always been this potential bullish structure and small little snippets of bullish activity, and then it just gets beaten down by the bears. There has not been much follow through, and I'm a little skeptical that we're going to get it. I am still leaning bullish, but in the short term, I should say, I'm still leaning bullish in the short term that we may see a rise at least back towards 21,500. But with activity like this today, it really starts taking the wind out of your sails. It's very, very tight on what probabilities are leaning towards what. I will say probabilities are leaning to the upside just off of the structure. However, it is a very close coin flip. This is not highly probable to the upside, and it's not highly probable to the downside. So like if you weren't in a trade, I wouldn't even tell you to be in a trade until you saw more follow through, more resolve to a direction. But I will say, just looking at the structure in a vacuum, this is a more bullish structure than bearish structure. So that's why I do have a bearish leaning. But I do want to reiterate that there is very, very little bullish activity to going towards follow through. Okay, they have the structure here, potentially this Adam and Eve bottom. Can they actually get that push higher? We'll have to wait and see. And like I mentioned, the levels to look at, the minor levels, 21,500. It should get through there if we're going to have an extended move past this pivot level and then past this pivot level. Okay, if it can get past 21,500 with strength, look for it to test 24,000, and it shouldn't stop there. With this sort of structure, there should be a short-term bottoming structure where we see a move potentially all the way back towards 30,000. But 28,000 would be, I would say, ideal, and then you would get that retracement back. And if it's going to be a prolonged bullish move, like let's just say like a bear market rally, you will get a pullback to make a higher low. Okay, you'll make this low, higher low, and then another higher low to potentially go higher. That's what you would want to see if you're going to have a prolonged move in Bitcoin to the upside. If you're not, and you get towards the 25, 26, 28,000, this retracement will just lead to lower levels. Which again, that's also possible as this is a bear market. All right, so we have to keep that in mind. We're just going to play what we see. We're not going to just play the charts. Just trade the charts of what you see. And right now, there's some bullish indication here, as I implied in the last video, but be very careful of stuff like this. And this is what happens a lot in bear markets. It's very easy to get right through support, and it's very hard to get right through resistance. And it's vice versa in a bull market. Okay. All right, so let's take a quick look at Polkadot next. I'm just gonna run through the altcoins because they're very similar to what I mentioned yesterday. Again, still in the range. It is showing signs of potentially breaking under this level here. Okay, if it breaks under this low pivot here, Polkadot's going to have a hard fall. Okay, a hard fall probably straight down towards $4. The reason why is because of how tight this is. It doesn't seem that tight, but it's actually very tight. Just look at how long it's been here. It's been here pretty much since, I would say, late May, early June, and it has not been able to resolve itself higher than $9 and change. Okay, really even lower. It really hasn't been able to actually get through in most recent times since the drop, $8 potentially. So the drop will be very hard on Polkadot, and same thing with the rise. So if it were to break this high pivot at $8.05, it would be a pretty strong rise going towards $10. And Polkadot is one of the more bullish sort of structures that I would see it breaking past $10 eventually, making a higher low, and then going towards 14. It's positioned well for that. But if the dollar keeps ramping up like it has been, or Bitcoin just fails to structure, of course Polkadot will most likely follow. Okay, but overall, same things that I've been seeing over the last couple of weeks to a month. We're just in a pretty tight trading structure here, very tight range, though it is trying to squeeze. Like I mentioned, it is trying to squeeze because it is trying to form a wedge sort of structure. Hold on one second, let's see if I can paint that a little bit better. So it's trying to form a structure sort of like a wedge, and if this is the case, if we're having this descending structure and then you're going to have this flat bottom structure here, then you're looking at a lot of consolidation left. If this is what's actually being built, that's quite a bit of consolidation that's still set to happen. So again, we'll just have to wait and see how this looks, but we are showing potential signs of losing this low pivot. And if we lose this low pivot, then this structure is probably done, and we're gonna go straight down towards like $4. All right, so let's see Cardano next. Cardano very similar to Polkadot, but actually even tighter. Very strong how it's holding this level at 44.50. And again, what's interesting about Cardano, it is also showing some potential signs, but you got to give it respect. I mean, it has not even reached this bottom pivot zone here. So even if it does take this out, it has quite a bit of strength down here, in my opinion. So I do see Cardano doing its best to hold this level down here should it break down towards 39. But again, it's the same old story. If Bitcoin, if the dollar do what it's doing, then you're going to see Cardano follow suit one way or the other. Okay, and the breakout for Cardano will be pretty strong. I mean, we're talking like 70 cents plus if it does break out to the upside, and to the downside. I mean, we're talking pretty significant. So from 39 cents being this low wick, this is the low of 2022. You're probably looking all the way down towards 20 cents before any major rally back up. So this is a really important levels for crypto overall. All right, so I don't want to downplay that. Like, the levels here are pretty important. We should see a pop. If the probabilities are going to be, if we're going to err on the side of probabilities, even though they're fairly tight, they are what's most probable. But overall, if they break down here, the breakdowns can be very painful, very painful. All right, Avalanche. Kind of similar, but not so much. Avalanche and Solana, as you'll see, also they came out rising structures, so fairly bearish. But the way they've held, from dumping further is, I would say fairly bullish. So they are showing some strength, and to me, they're showing similar structures to Bitcoin. So you see, they got this low, and now potentially trying to make this another rounding bottom here. So an Adam and Eve double bottom potentially, and if that happens, like I mentioned in the last video, you're going to see higher levels anywhere from $30 and maybe even higher for Avalanche, going all the way up to like $40. It just depends on how much follow through Bitcoin can have, or if it's going to have any at all, and also how strong is the dollar going to get. Because if we do see the dollar streaming past that 115 zone, then you're probably going to see crypto get a whole other leg down. Okay, but Avalanche I do like, and if it does start breaking down, I mean, you're going to have to start looking at $10 and even $5. Okay, eventually, in my opinion, Avalanche over the long term, as this bear market happens, I would not be surprised if you see a $1, $2 Avalanche. Be prepared for that. I don't know if that's going to happen. Again, I'm just kind of giving you a guesstimate, kind of like an educated guess, considering how much altcoins tend to sell off in prolonged bear markets. That's possible. But we have to see how Bitcoin's actually going to act what levels it's going to be at as Avalanche approaches those levels, pretty much. All right, so let's look at Solana next. Again, similar, right? Got the 2022 low, and now trying to make a rounding. If they could get that pull up, get that extended move higher, then this will look like an Adam and Eve bottom, short-term bottom. But again, it needs to follow through. So I know I sound like a broken record here. I'm sorry. It's one of the reasons why I don't do recap videos back to back, because markets tend to take a while to create something new, right? You get a piece of the picture, as the candles are being painted, but for a while, the painting is going to look the same thing. The picture is going to look the same way it looked, a week ago. So, I don't like doing videos just to do them, but I do want to, be a little bit more active to, keep my view in real time for you as members. But as you can see, it's the same sort of story. They're all attempting to do these like kind of double bottom structures, these Adam and Eve structures, and we'll see if they can. We just have to see if they get that fall through. And right now, I would say it's still probable. Like I mentioned a bit when I was going over Bitcoin, it's probable that they will, but it's the more we consolidate here, the stronger the dollar gets. Again, that just decreases the probabilities more and more and more. And we're talking we're talking about 55 to 57% probability wise. All right. The only reason why it's even higher than that is only because the dollar is approaching what I would consider a pretty significant resistance zone. Okay. If the dollar was nowhere near any major resistances, I would be leaning on the air that this will probably fail. But thankfully, we are nearing some decent resistances for the dollar. All right, so let's look at BNB. Like I mentioned, BNB, is actually quite bullish looking. I've said it over and over. I like how this overall macro structure looks, and I do like how it's pretty much traded down this way onto this major level of support. And BNB, I do see it getting towards at least $298, $297. That's my more conservative target of where I see this rising to. But potentially it can get much higher, going anywhere from 330 to 350, and maybe even higher towards the 400s. But that'll be very dependent if Bitcoin is going to have fall through in of itself. If it does fail off this level, I already have it marked. You're looking at 222, 223, 224, and then 210. Right. So this zone here will play a major level, and if that's lost, then you're looking at 150, and it'll be a pretty strong fall to 150. All right. But as of right now, BNB, out of all the charts I've seen in crypto, is probably looking the most bullish, at least in the cryptos that we're in, right? So this looks pretty powerful, and I do see about $300. They'll round it up, is where I do see getting to at least. All right, and MATIC, which we are right short right now, somewhat similar to BNB, like I mentioned in the last video, but this price action here is not. It's not that bullish, at least compared to Binance. I do like this to come lower towards this major level down here, at least towards pretty much 62 cents. That's what I'm eyeing, and potentially lower. I am looking to target maybe these low pivots down here because of the liquidity down here. I am looking to potentially close the short over here. If I feel that there's enough strength being shown here as we potentially approach 63, 62 cents, that general zone, I'll close the short there. I mean, that'll be a decent profit, but I am ultimately looking to target these levels here. I'm only going to close up here if I feel I see strength in both MATIC and also in Bitcoin. If we even get there. If we don't, if we start going higher, I have the levels mapped out that I want to add on to the short, as you can see. Okay, so 92 and possibly over $1. All right. Okay, and I think that's all I'm going to go over for now. I'm not going to go over. Actually, I'll go over XRP real quick. XRP burst up higher, and it's pretty much doing what I figured it was going to do, starting a retracement. So not a major bullish structure being formed yet, unless it holds this level. But if it retraces all the way back down to its level, it's still bullish. But if it starts losing it, well, then it's going back into the range, and that's not bullish. Okay. That's all you really need to know with that. But if it holds that level, that's great. Just give it some time. You'll eventually see it go higher. If it doesn't and it comes back, give it some time, and then you just have to wait and see what Bitcoin does. Okay? Because if XP is going to have relative strength, it can't lose this level and start trading back in this zone. It just can't. It won't have relative strength to Bitcoin to anything. If it does that, it'll probably be even weaker. So again, we'll have to give XRP time and see what happens as time goes on. Okay. All right, everyone. That's all I'm going to go over today. Just remember, if you have any questions, just let me know in the Discord via DM or just in the Discord publicly, whatever you'd like. If you're interested in the services, like I said, just look at the description. You'll see the swing trade, the copy trade, all. They have a whole bunch of different services at different prices, and just take a look at that if you're interested in any of that. Okay. All right, everyone. Remember, be patient, be vigilant, and be nimble. Love you guys. Take care.